on? This is Big G from G Riders, and welcome to another episode of Testing Rides. Today, I'm going to test out the 2021 Audi A5 Sportback 45 S-Line Premium. Welcome to the 2021 Audi A5 Sportback. The A5 Sportback was introduced to the U.S. market for the 2018 model year, and this was somewhat of a forbidden fruit vehicle that other markets had, but we did not get it here in North America, so I'm really glad that Audi had decided to bring that back. I have reviewed the pre-facelift version of this car, and I still feel the same way. I'm glad that Audi brought this 5-door hatchback to the U.S. So, for the 2020 model year, the Audi had a mid-cycle refresh. So they changed some styling, they changed some packaging, and they added some power and added some new features to the vehicle. And this is part of the B9.5 generation of the A5 Sportback. So with this being an A5 Sportback, this is the 5-door version hatchback of the A5 Coupe that is for sale everywhere. And I like it because this is the closest to a station wagon that's not lifted and all rolled out, because if you look, all the wagons that are for sale in the US are either the RS6 and A6 all-roads and A4 all-roads. So this is the closest that we're gonna get to a non-all-roaded wagon. So this is a 2021 Audi A5 Sportback 45. So in combination with the 12-volt mild hybrid system and the 2-liter turbocharged engine, this car does make 261 horsepower and 273 foot-pounds of torque. So because this is like a compact / mid-size luxury all-wheel drive sedan, this car does weigh about 3,700 pounds. But despite that 3,700 pounds, it's just slightly under 3,700 pounds. But despite that weight, it does get 24 in the city and 31 out on the highway. But I have seen better fuel economy numbers from driving it for the past 3 days or so. So this is the 2021 Audi A5 45 Sportback S-Line Premium. And this is the bigger engine option of the base model of the A5 Sportback. So the base engine is the 2-liter turbocharged engine that only makes 200 horsepower. And that one starts at about $40,000. So if you want a base model A5 Sportback, you expect to have 200 horsepower and it's about $40,000. But this is the 45 S-Line Premium. So this particular one has the 261 horsepower as I talked about before, and this one is just about $45,000. And I think that extra $5,000 for 60 more horsepower, and it drops the 0 to 60 time by like a whole second. So honestly, I think if you're looking at getting an A5 Sportback, I think you should only be looking at the 45 motor of the A5 Sportback. I understand that you may not want to spend someone may not want to spend that much money or have that much power, but I think that for the $45,000 A5 Sportback 45 is the better deal. All right, with that said, let's go and take a look around the car inside, then head on the road. Welcome to the exterior tour of the 2021 Audi A5 Sportback. So let's go and take a look around the vehicle and see what it's like. All right, starting here in the front of the Audi A5 Sportback. So one thing that they did on the premium model for the 2020 for the facelift model year is they made it so that you have to at least get the Premium Plus to get the upgraded headlights. The 2019 that I reviewed you did not need to get the upgraded package to get the upgraded headlights. So you got the upgraded headlights on the base model, but they decided to change that around. Honestly, it's a little bit sad that they changed that, but it also makes sense. It gives someone a reason to upgrade to the next model up. So honestly, it's fine because it is LED headlights and stuff, but it makes complete sense. So this one does have, because they upgraded all of the facelift B9.5 generations of like the A5, A4, and the Q5. They made it look a little bit more Sportback that I reviewed last year, but this is the A5 Sportback. But I actually like the way it looks. It looks pretty aggressive and mean. It's nice that you can kind of get the more aggressive styling on the 4-cylinder variant of the car, and I think that's fine. Coming on the side, this does have the 18-inch S-line wheels, which are really nice looking wheels. I like the five spoke design. I think honestly, like if this were my car, I wouldn't need it. I feel like the wheels, I wouldn't change the wheels at all. I like those. I like the design a lot. And because this is the 45 Premium S-Line, it does have your S-Line badge right there on the side there. I like the way it's there. It's pretty subtle and pretty traditionally Audi. Coming on the side, this is my favorite part about, this is my favorite angle of the vehicle. Let's take a little step back. Doesn't it just look so good? It's such a nice design, and this is basically like the little brother of like the A7 Sportback. Basically, it's not called the A7 Sportback; it's its own model, but this is the version of that. And I think it looks really awesome. It does have the panoramic sunroof up top. Couple annoying things. So this car doesn't have keyless access, so it has like the little grooves if you see that there, but it doesn't do anything because this car doesn't have that option because it's a premium. But I wish, like, Audi, you can make that standard. Like, come on now. I mean, someone spending 45 grand on a base model, like, you could put that on there, especially if you get the 45 engine. I understand for the base 40, but for the 45, come on, add that on there. Increase the price like $600, and that'd be perfect. And I think I talked about that on the last time I reviewed one of these as well. So coming around the back, this has the same facelift as the S5 Sportback that I reviewed last year. And I love the new styling. I love the way they changed the tail lights up a little bit. They made it a little bit more modern, a little bit more different than the previous one. I like it quite a bit. Got your A5 badge over there and got your quattro on the other side. And this is my favorite part about the car, the hatchback. So there's a pretty good amount of space back here. I put up the official numbers with the seats up, but I like it quite a bit. I mean, it's the look of a sedan, but the practicality of a hatchback, and that's why I like this car so much. So, really stupid fact: you cannot close the hatch with the key fob. So look, I'm gonna press it, hold it. Nothing. You have to get a higher model to close the hatch with the key fob. I think that's hilarious, but it is a power lift gate, as you can see there. Coming on the side, I mean, of course, the same as the other side. It's not a Hyundai Veloster, but the gas is on the right side. I like when the gas is on that side because most cars have it on the left, so you can get through the line a lot quicker. If you live in a state like here in Oregon where we have to pump our own gas, so you know that's really cool. But overall, I love the design of the Audi A5 Sportback. It's a really good-looking car. It always has been a good-looking car, but the facelift they just knocked it out of the park. I really love this car, and I'm glad it's a hatchback, and I'm glad that people are buying it because I see a lot of these around. I actually see more of these than A4s where I live up here in Oregon. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at the inside. Welcome to the interior of the 2021 A5 Sportback. Looking around the interior, this interior is really nice. Lots of soft touch materials. The piano black with the silver trim looks pretty nice, and then it has kind of the dark wood that goes across the dash here. The Audi stereo, this has the down virtual cockpit, actually, which I kind of like. The virtual cockpit is cool because you can change the way it looks, but sometimes the virtual cockpit kind of lags. So I do like the analog ones. I talked about how much I love the virtual cockpit, but on like the Q5 video that you'll see before this one comes out. But I like on the A5, this is more of a sporty model to one that you want to drive a little bit harder, a little bit faster. So I kind of like the analog ones on this because they don't lag. They're just on it pretty quickly. So I like that quite a bit. So this has the typical Audi steering wheel, has the nice paddle shifters on the back. They're plastic, but they feel really nice. I mean, Audi's been putting paddle shifters on cars for a long time now, so they have a nice feel to it, pretty responsive. I don't really like the cruise control stop down here because sometimes when you first get in the car, you confuse the turn signal and the cruise control stock. But you get used to it, but I still don't really love it. So, decent sounding horn, but everything looks really nice in here. Like, you can kind of flip through everything there. gas mileage, all that stuff. Really nice, really typical Audi. All right, coming over here to the center screen, you do have the 10.inch one Audi infotainment with has Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, has wireless CarPlay and stuff, which is definitely nice. But it works well. It functions pretty quickly, pretty easily. Has the nice graphics that you get in any other Audi model. I'm glad that Audi decided to make the screen standard no matter which model that you get. And then you have these little buttons down there, the blank switches, of course. You have a button there to turn off the display. Then you got your drive select, your start stop off, and then your traction control off, and then your starter button right there. And I love the starter buttons. I love Volkswagen products that have the starter button mounted on the center console instead of up here like a lot of cars do. All right, climate control is pretty simple. Audi climate control. I like that when you just hover over the buttons. I'm not actually touching it. When you just hover over them, they kind of accentuate so you know what you're doing. The off button sometimes is hard to find, kind of. I wish they would have integrated it in the knob somewhere like that, but you know, whatever. It is what it is. You all got your typical Audi. With your Audi interior, you got your continuous kind of vent that goes from one side to the other. I don't really love that touch, but you know, it's not the worst one in the world either. Got your Quattro badge right there on the dash, and then of course behind me you got the panel. You got the big sunroof that opens all the way up. Unlike the old A5s that did not have that, the old A5s had just a venting one, and I'm glad that they made sunroof that actually opens all the way up, and it's both on the Sportback and the Coupe this time around. The seats are really nice. These nice leather seats, black leather sport seats with the piping and stuff. It has the thigh support, which I like. I like it because I like the thigh support out just because it kind of makes the car a little bit more comfortable for me to drive. But yeah, it's a pretty basic Audi interior. You got your USB port there. You got a Type-C in the center console, and they got rid of the iDrive knob. I actually kind of missed the iDrive knob because I could tell like they did that and they didn't really know what to do with the space, so it's just empty. Like I put keys there sometimes, I put my phone there sometimes, or you know, well, let's see, it's not the time. So we're Oregon, we're close, but we're not quite there yet where you're still having to put the COVID mask in there. But yeah, I think that's pretty cool. But I like this car. I like this overall too. I really like this interior. It's a pretty nice interior. You know, this is a $45,000 car, and this has a $45,000 car interior. I wish that the keyless access system was standard on this car, with it being $45,000. But I understand why it's not. Audi wants to try to get people to upgrade to the next model to get better features, and it makes sense. I just wish they weren't so greedy. But hey, they got to make money too. They're a business. So with that said, let's go ahead and head on the road and see how this thing drives. Welcome to the driving portion of the A5 Sportback Premium S-Line 45. I know that's such a long name, but Audi decided to name it all that. All right, so let's go ahead and head out on the road and see how this thing drives. So with this having the 7-speed dual clutch, this does have a launch control. Let's just do a little quick one up to the stop sign here. Wow, up to 3,300. Oh my gosh. Yeah, this thing's quick. So, when you hop on the road, drop a couple gears. Yes, so, welcome to the driving portion of the 2021 Audi A5 Sportback. So when you first hop on the road, the one thing that you notice is this thing is decently quick. With 261 horsepower, 273 foot-pounds of torque, this car goes 0 to 60 in about 5.2 seconds. 5.2 seconds is not slow at all, actually. And with this dual clutch transmission and the way this motor responds, it's just lightning quick shifts, and it's pretty awesome. So as you may see, I'll link it in here. I have reviewed an S5 version of this car, and the S5 is really fast. But actually, funny enough, so is this. Like, I do notice a difference in speed, but like, the question is, it's like, depending on what you're doing, do you really need all that? But I'm not gonna really address all that. I'm not really gonna address that in this video. So, this is the 2021 Audi A5 Sportback. And what are the first couple things that you notice when you hop on the road? Yes, I already talked about that it's had some pretty good power, some pretty good pickup, pretty good power and torque. But the next thing is how this thing handles. So, drop a couple gears. We have my couple quarters coming up here. This thing handles really nicely. With this car having a little bit, I have a friend that has a B9.5 S line. So we did a little bit of comparison, and this car, and when you're looking at one, if you're looking at buying one, this car has a lot lower center of gravity than the A4. So this car has a lot lower center of gravity than the A4. So this car, I think this car kind of can go into corners a little bit quicker, and I love that. That's what I love about this particular car, is the fact that it is basically an A4, but it's an A4 with the lower center of gravity. It rides lower, sits lower. So this particular one does not have the sport suspension. It's a $250 option. I don't know why you would not get the sport suspension on it, but I understand that not everyone wants the stiffer ride. I know, me personally, if I was specing this car at this point, I might as well get the sport suspension, because it's only $250, and it changes kind of a little bit. It'll fix the problem, some of the problem that I have with the way this car rides. Because this car has the softer shocks, when you go over bumps, it kind of feels a little bit bouncy, if that makes any sense. So that bounciness, though, is what makes this ride so comfortable when you're driving on the highway, driving on the road at any point. But you know, I'd want the stiffer suspension just so when I want to have fun on a fun road like this road that I'm on now, or the road that I'm going to be going to, I'm not really feeling all the bounciness. But that's the only problem I have with the ride on this car. When you're not going quickly, this car is so smooth, so quiet, and it does that dangerous thing that a lot of German luxury cars do with hiding the speed. You look down, you're on the highway just driving, if you're not on cruise control, you look down and you're going 90 miles an hour, just like that. And now you're like, whoa, that's too fast. So if you're looking at getting one of these, I would say kind of be able to keep your eye on the speedometer, because it will climb and you will not notice that it even happened. So this car being a modern car, this car does come with some safety features. So this does have a lane centering system. You turn it on by hitting the stalk there, and it's pretty decent. It keeps you centered in your lane pretty nicely, but it will tell you when you need to take over. But I don't really like it, because the system is not connected to like the depth cruise control or anything like that. So at that point, I might as well just be steering myself if I'm using regular cruise control. So sometimes I don't understand why the companies put half of the safety suite on it. Like, if you're gonna put half on it, you might as well put the whole thing on it. But that's just my opinion. This car also does not have blind spot monitoring system, and I think at 45 grand, I think you should be getting that standard. I know not everybody cares or wants that or whatever, but I feel like a lot of other brands are putting that stuff on their vehicle standard at this point. Even luxury brands are putting that stuff on their vehicle standard, and Audi needs to join in on that. Because I believe when I viewed the Premium Q5, the Premium Q5 had blind spot monitoring on it, and I just don't understand why they didn't put it on the A5. With this slopey roof line, you kind of need it. Like, the blind spots in this car are pretty horrendous. So that's getting to the next thing. So the visibility in this car is pretty decent out the front, but if you're looking out of the side or out the back, these pillars are kind of right in your way sometimes when you're looking, because I'm over 6 feet tall with 350 pounds, so I gotta have my seat back a little bit. So kind of where I sit, I'm sitting kind of in the pillar when I gotta look, so I have to like really put my head up to really look to where it is. So it'd be nice to have that blind spot monitoring, but I think that slopey roofline. It's a great sacrifice to have this beautiful, beautiful styling. I absolutely love the styling. It actually is much better than the styling you get on the Audi A4. Much better. I absolutely love it. So, you know, the visibility out of this vehicle is not great, but I'm gonna give it the pass because I'm fine with giving up that practicality for this beautiful styling. The next thing is I fitted this car very comfortably. You guys know I'm a big dude. I can sit nice and low. I have a good view out of the road. My head is not too close to the top. The sunroof helps the sunroof makes this car not feel like I'm driving a cave, like driving like a Challenger or a Charger with no sunroof. So I love that they have this big panoramic sunroof as a standard equipment in this car. And the seats are very comfortable and very supportive, and they hold you in pretty nicely without being too uncomfortable when you're having some fun. So everything in this car is so ergonomically laid out. Everything is pretty nicely in reach. The climate control, the screen. I feel like they moved the screen up a little bit more once they got rid of the scrolling knob, and I'm glad they at least did that step, because I know some companies will get rid of a scrolling knob but leave the screen super far away where it was before. So I'm glad that Audi thought about that when they engineered this. Do I have any complaints about the A5 Sportback? Overall, not really. A lot of it just has to do with the visibility out of the car. Like, it's not great, but again, I gave it the pass. And also the fact that for 45 grand, you're not getting certain features that you should be getting at this point. But besides that, I have no complaints with the A5 Sportback. It is a beautiful car. It's a great driving car. It's a great quality car, and you definitely see, spending 45 grand even on this premium model, you see where your $45,000 is going, and that's all you can ask for when you buy a luxury car. You have to justify and see where your money is going, and this is definitely feels like a $45,000 car. And with that said, if you're looking for a fun to drive 5-door hatchback, very comfortable, very beautiful, like luxury vehicle, and you can honestly, even if you're like in the market for a wagon and you don't really want an all-road, this is a great option, because this is, I mean, of course this has the hatch. It's not like as practical as as the wagon, but this is the best bet. That's the best version. This is the best thing you can get that's not a crossover on all-road. So I definitely think if you're looking for something like those things I just stated, you should definitely take a look at the Audi A5 Sportback. So if you like this video, hit me with a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, keep riding me. Thanks for watching, and pick up some merch. Hey GoPro, start recording.